Hi everybody, welcome back to the Taming of Tolkien. This would be episode 1. Last episode was episode 0.
Yeah.
So today we're going to officially start our delve into the works, and we're starting with the Simarillion. A beautiful one. And today
it's too heavy. I'm not going to lift it.
That's fine. We're going to be talking about the first prelude. I think most people do the 2 preludes, then the story, and then like the 2 like epilogues, if you will. And it is the Ainulindale, which is pretty short and is the 2 prequels, in my opinion, and I think most people would agree, are like the Bible. And then you have the history of the world, and then the epilogue. So
yeah, I'd say Ainulindale is like the creation of Middle Earth and the source of all evil.
It's the creation of Ea, Middle Earth.
It is Middle Earth.
Middle Earth is an itty tiny little part.
Right, but like to put it in context.
Yes, this is where we see everything start to be created and all of that.
They call it the Earth. So you can say the creation of the Earth, but it's not like our Earth.
Yeah, and they use
That's why I say Middle Earth. It's just easier to.
And they do use like a couple of different phrases for it, and I know that it's because the book is written as if it's the elves like explaining all of this for other people later, so that's why there's like weird names going on.
Rule number 1 in Tolkien: everyone has 5 names, so even everything has 5 names. So just
it's so true though. So before we get into the story, though, we have the most important part, which are the memes. You are welcome, everyone. This is what makes like reading this stuff worthwhile, is some of this stuff.
Understand the memes.
Yeah. Some of them are really funny later on. Like, well, you'll see. We'll get there. So, all right. So the very first one, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So the first one doesn't have anything to do with the Simarillion, but it's a Tumblr post, and it's 15% water and 85% the Lord of the Rings references. And that is 100% accurate.
I think I quote Lord of the Rings every day. Every day of my life. There's a Lord of the Rings quote for every situation.
There really is. Yeah.
Me, just after reading Lord of the Rings, look, I've been around the world, okay? Whatever it is, I'll understand. Silmarillion, there's nothing about this I understand. Thanks, Tolkien. I needed all those names in my life.
It's really true. Like, there are parts where like you're on one page and he uses a name, you flip the page and it's a different name, and you're like, wait a second, I have to go back and make sure this is the right person. Yeah.
Easier in the movies when they use multiple names because you have a face.
Yeah, I do prefer having a face to go with. Next one I thought was really funny because we're talking about names.
This is my favorite. I've seen this before. I love this. I will pop it up on the screen. Everyone pause for 2 minutes and read through this and play this game with us.
Yep, it's antidepressants or Tolkien character. Now, I will be honest, I only know for sure that one of these is a Tolkien character because it's my baby, Halder. But
Elendil's also one.
Who?
Elendil.
Okay, so that was the other one that I was like, I'm 90% sure Elendil is also one. And I was like, and I think there's one other one.
Galadriel is Galadriel's husband.
Ah, okay. I was like, see, some of these I don't actually know. And I'm pretty sure Azathin is an antidepressant. And I'm pretty sure
Finarfin, I think. Oh, now I said that aloud and now I'm questioning myself.
Same. I almost went to say that I think Orifin is a Tolkien name, and then I paused and I was like, wait a second.
We should write this and keep it next to us, and as we go through the Silmarillion, check off the names.
Mark them off. I could be totally wrong on this, but I think Orphan might be one of Gandalf's names.
We will find out.
I guess we're gonna find out, and if I'm wrong, I'll wear a shame hat because yeah.
I like Edronax.
Yeah, some of them, like, they make you think a little bit.
Finarfin sounds like a Tolkien character, but then when you say it out loud, it's like, but it also sounds like a drug.
Yeah, and then you have like Istamil, and I'm like, it's close to like a Isildur. Like, could it be in the family? I don't know. So we're gonna find out. I think we should, yeah, keep this handy and mark it off.
Like pop it up every time we run across one.
Every time we come across a new name. All right, next one. Thought this is a pretty clever one. It's definitely me on the top and you on the bottom in this one.
People who read the Silmarillion, people who could speak all the languages in Tolkien's works. I'm not good at Dwarvish. I'll give you that one.
Maybe I can, you know, find my moment to shine. I don't know anything about Dwarvish, but
you should look at the book, The Languages of Middle Earth.
I might have to.
Yeah, it's a I saw a meme today. Maybe I should save this. I should have saved this. If I can find it, I can, and I'll pop it up on the screen. But it was a Tumblr post, and someone had Elvish script at the top, and they're like, "This is can I touch your butt in Elvish?" And then there was a really long reply saying, "No, actually, this is English using Elvish words. If you were going to do that, you actually need to remove letters because the Elvish alphabet is phonetic." And they're like, "So it should be spelled this way. However, if you actually want to translate it," and then they translated it into Sindarin and put that up on the screen in the Tengwar script, and it was like, "This is what it would be." And I was like, "Oh, that would have been me." And it was funny because like the bottom of the post was like, "The oldest fandoms are always the most polite. This was so well written and so nice to correct this person."
Yeah, it's true. When you've been around for over a decade. Yeah, we've been around for over a decade, y'all. That milestone.
Let's not count how many decades that we've been around. I've been around.
We just recently passed 10 decades because 2017 would have been the Hobbit anniversary, I believe. I'm pretty sure now I'm second guessing myself.
When did The Hobbit come out?
I'm almost positive it was 1917.
When did The Hobbit? 2012. That's what Google thought I was asking. That's the movie. 1977.
No, The Hobbit came out way before 1977.
September 21st, 1937.
Oh, 37. I thought you said 77. I was like, what?
It is 1 year older than my dad.
Wow.
Yep. So you're about 20 years off, but it's fine.
Whatever.
We're getting there.
1737.
My cat is very in my book.
There's going to be a lot more stuff I'm wrong on, mostly in relation to pronunciations. So it's okay.
I got you.
I don't say Tolkien, I say Tolkien because, you know, I'm American. Anyways, next one. I think we have...
As a person whose name has been butchered their entire life, both first and last name, I'm a stickler for pronunciations.
Yeah, my name's been butchered and I still don't care.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's what it is. All right, so we have two more and then we can jump into the actual story.
Cool.
So you did the last one, so I'll do this one. This one is, when Tolkien fans disagree about a tiny detail, bring forth the Simarillion.
I feel like I need to carry this book with me. For those who didn't watch the first one, this is the size of my book. And I feel like I need to carry this with me now at all times so that anytime we get into a debate, I can like pull it out and reverently place it upon the table and open it up to the hallelujah music.
So what makes this even funnier to me that you kind of went over in the last episode is that Tolkien didn't finish a lot of his work, so it was finished by his son, including the Silmarillion. So there are instances where the books contradict themselves, like they do, and so it just makes it kind of funny that
So if you think about it, he worked on it his entire life, right? So he would start an idea and then it would develop over time to where the end product was so far removed from the beginning of the idea because it was just developed, but we have both of them published. So yeah.
Lots of fun stuff. All right, and then we have one more and then we can jump into the book.
People who have read the Silmarillion seeing literally anybody else. Look at them, so blissfully ignorant.
I thought it was pretty perfect. All right.
All right. So break the tension, break the stress with some memes.
Yeah, you got to start off on a good foot. We got to start with memes and end with memes. That's what it's got to be.
This is a heavy book. It's a difficult read. We're here for you. I don't think that we ever actually explained what the Silmarillion was, though, in our last video. So just in case you didn't watch the last video, or we forgot to say what it was, the Silmarillion is a compilation of stories that Tolkien wrote about the history and development of Middle-earth. It takes place before the Third Age, which is when Lord of the Rings takes place, and The Hobbit. I think in here there's also a little bit that goes past the Lord of the Rings. I think that's in the appendices in the Silmarillion where you find out about Legolas and that may be the appendices in the Return of the King.
I think that might be in the Return of the King. I think the Silmarillion just goes up through the end of the First Age.
Maybe. But it's essentially all the history before Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that Tolkien wrote, outside of some other side stories that are published separately, like Unfinished Tales and whatnot. This is being drawn on heavily for the new Lord of the Rings series that Amazon is creating, because that's going to take place in the First Age. Or second age? I think it's the First Age.
I see a lot of familiar faces.
Oh, now's a great time to hop on our channel and go through this. We're going through chapter by chapter in the series, summarizing it, and then sort of giving our thoughts. Because like I said, it's a difficult read. Most people can't actually get through it once.
You get points for trying.
You get Tolkien points for trying.
You get points for trying. So if it sounds interesting, give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, just come back here. It's all good.
Yeah, we completely understand. I can't say that I finished it in my first go. So,
yeah,
so yeah, we can start with Ainu Lindale, which translates to the music of the Ainur.
Yeah, so this is going to be another weird one where, so I have heard this pronounced so many different ways. So I've heard it pronounced as Ainur. I've heard it pronounced the way you say it, and then I pronounce it as Anor, which is a little more emphasis on the A than the I. And I don't actually know which one is correct.
I will tell you which one's correct. Give me 1 second. So, as the meme we just read suggests, we shall consult the Silmarillion over a little dispute. I'm pretty sure it's Ainur, which this is going to sound really weird, but I had my tonsils taken out as an adult and it makes certain sounds hard for me to say. So I may like choke in my throat a little bit, and that the N-U-R is one of those that gets caught back there. All right, so we are consulting the notes on pronunciation. This is lovingly put in place by, I believe, Christopher Tolkien into this edition. There's a whole other book on this. So the AI is pronounced like the English I. Like I. So the first part's I. It's based off Old English. And then the U with, oh, there's no accent mark. So the U-R then is pronounced as in English fern, like fur, fern, fur. So that's the U-R, fur. So it'd be Ainur.
Ainur. Okay. So not Ainur. Ainur. Okay. Interesting. All right.
When in doubt, consult the Silmarillion.
When in doubt, bring forth the Simarillion. All right. So, yeah. I don't know where we were. I didn't mean to go off on that.
We were at the beginning. And as we mentioned before, this is like the Bible. And this chapter is really like Genesis before humans. it literally starts out pretty much in the beginning.
Yeah.
So the summary of Ainu Lindale is essentially the creation of
Arda.
how do I say this?
The universe is called Ea. The world, so like the Earth, is called Arda. And then you have the continents, and Middle Earth is one of the continents on Arda.
We'll call it Earth. I call it Arda a lot. So if I say Arda, I mean Earth. We'll simplify it that way. So anyway, you have Eru, who is also known as the Iluvatar. He is essentially God. He has the power to create, and he's all in his realm and decides to create another being called the Ainur. And he creates several of these beings, which I liken to angels. So I imagine Iluvatar as God and the Ainur as angels.
I would say they're probably more like archangels. They're like the higher up of angels.
I grew up Baptist. There were no levels of angels in my religion.
Anyone who knows like angels, that you have like seraphim and Nephilim and like archangels and all of that. So they would be like Michael and Gabriel and like those type of angels. That's going to be who the Ainur are. And then it's Ainu is the singular, Ainur is the plural, because they went to it. And it is important to separate them that way, because the Ainur is the collective, and then you have the like, we'll get into the other ones.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, so, but yeah. Archangels.
Archangels, another way that I think about them is like you have demigods. So you have the you have essentially Iluvatar, and then he creates almost a race of demigods. But they're essentially there to sing for Iluvatar, kind of like for his enjoyment. And that's why I think of angels, because growing up Baptist, that's one of the things angels do, is that they sing for God in a choir. So that's why it always sticks to me. Growing up the way I did, we didn't really have levels of angels. That's a Catholic thing, I think. So like I'm like archangels. I mean, I know the word, but I don't
Tolkien was a devout Catholic, so it makes more sense.
Right. And that's why I say that he does draw on Catholicism quite a bit. But anyway, so you have Iluvatar, and he creates the Ainur, which is a grouping of these demigods, and they sing. And when they start, they sing individually, and then it grows into them singing with like small groups. But Iluvatar wants them to sing as a whole. So like as they essentially get older and learn more, they learn to sing as a full choir. And then Iluvatar thinks the music is beautiful and comes down and gives them a melody or a song to sing. And that's what they sing together. Now, one of the Ainur, his name is Melkor. He was given the gift of knowledge. I wouldn't say explained, but it's alluded to that each person or each Ainu in the group is given some sort of gift. And
no, he says it. He says it.
Right.
Because he says
it doesn't go into details.
Yeah, because he says that Melkor, his gift was that he had the same abilities as all of the other Ainur.
Plus knowledge.
Yeah, whereas they only had one gift.
Yeah, so everyone has gifts, but Melkor is different in a way, I guess, because he's given the gift of knowledge, which allows him to think a little differently and wonder why he's part of a group when he should be essentially a soloist.
He's Prometheus in the Greek mythology. Just saying.
He's the devil in Christianity.
Nah, he's Prometheus.
So he's singing in this choir with this new song that Iluvatar gave to them, and he tries to sing louder and more beautiful than everybody else, which sort of throws the whole choir off its game, because actually you came up with this great example, because like if you watch Pitch Perfect and Becca, is her name Becca?
Yeah.
In the very first movie where she tries to like break out and modernize the group, they're on stage and she just starts singing a different song and the other people are really confused. That's essentially what happens. So some people start following Melkor and some people don't. And it gets to a point where it gets so disjointed that Iluvatar stands up and tries to correct them with a new song. But Melkor, thinking that he knows better, tries to sing over Iluvatar, and this happens 3 different times until Iluvatar like sounds one long, deep, sudden note, and it shuts everyone up. So I just imagine this choir of people all over the place, and the new Iluvatar essentially is like, stop, and everyone shuts up. So Iluvatar is kind of angry at this moment, and he essentially tries to show them that he is the only one allowed to create things. He's the only one with that power. And even if you think you have the power to create something new, like Melkor, because in his pride, he tried to almost create a new song. Exactly what he did. He tried to create a new song over Iluvatar. Iluvatar is like, no, if you're creating, it's because I gave you that gift. I'm allowing you to create, like I'm working through you. So essentially, he takes their song and throws it out into what's called the void. So you have essentially what I think of as like heaven, it's their realm, and then there's like an emptiness. So he throws it out into this emptiness, and they see a vision of earth and elves and men, and they see everything from the beginning of time all the way through, but they never actually see the end of time.
Yeah. With a couple of caveats being that, because he explicitly says this, that in each age there's something that pops up that's even beyond Iluvatar's knowledge, because like everything kind of like grows on each other, like, you know, the past, things that happen in the past.
I don't think they said it was beyond Iluvatar's knowledge. I'm pretty sure they said it was beyond the Ainar's.
No. Yeah, I think the way that I always did it was that he can see almost everything, but there are things that pop up in every age that he doesn't see coming. I know this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but the big one is actually hobbits.
Of course.
Which sounds really funny and really weird, but hobbits are a race that he never predicted to emerge. And again, this is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I personally think that is why Gandalf always goes to the hobbits to solve some of the issues, because they're this unknown variable. Like they're this thing that no one was prepared for, so they have like some significance, I think, in Gandalf's mind. And that's why when they like encounter things like Smaug, and Smaug is like, I don't know what you are, and you know, he's like, oh, I'm just a burglar, you know, because Smaug's like, I've never encountered I don't know what a hobbit is. You know? But then it leads to more questions about, like, you know, having hobbits. Then Iluvatar kind of has this like extra little thing that can help him, so that's why Bilbo ends up with the ring, because it doesn't make sense for a hobbit to have the ring. It's this really weird thing that, yeah, anyways.
Yeah, maybe explains it later. It's written in a way where I think you take it either way. at least from my understanding. But anyway, so he shows them this vision, and then he says that he's going to give them the chance to make it happen. So he gives the Ainur a choice. They can go into this area. It's essentially the void. They can go into the void, with the caveat that their powers are limited to only in that area, and work on creating this vision, because the Ainur in that vision, they saw men and elves, and they fell in love with these races and wanted to create a world perfect for them. So some of the Ainur descend into the void, is the best way to say it, and work to create the earth. These are the Valar. So power structure wise, the way that I would describe it is you have Iluvatar as god, you have the Ainur as demigods, and then you have underneath them the Valar, which I don't have a word for other than Valar. So if you have a better word for it.
Yeah, I think if I were to describe it, it would be using Greek mythology, and it would be Iluvatar is the creator, which is his title, he's the creator. Then you would have the Titans, which would be the Anor, and then you would have the gods underneath that, which would be the Valar, because the Valar are descended from the Titan. Well, gods are descended from Titans in Greek mythology. The Valar are Ainur who made this choice.
Yeah.
So it's, in my mind, that's the way that it would kind of work. And then the next subset that we will see would, in my opinion, be the demigods.
Right.
That's how I would break it down.
Yeah, or like my original thought with them was like you had, you know, God and then angels, and then you had the guardian angels that sort of went to Earth. So like they're the same beings, but their powers are reduced because they have that caveat. So, you know, there's a million ways to do it. But that's the 3 levels you need to know. It's Iluvatar, Ainur, and Valar. So there's only a handful of Valar that actually go down to Earth, each one for an element: earth, air, water. Melkor is one of these that decides to go down because he sees that vision, whereas all these other Ainur saw the vision and went, "This is beautiful. I would like for this to happen." Melkor saw it and thought, "I want to own this." So he goes down with the others with the thought of trying to conquer this new creation and be its ruler. So he is the one with fire, which if you watch, there you go. He has fire, which makes sense why, you know, all the evil is tied to fire and Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So you have fire, and that's Melkor. So he gets really mad when the Valar essentially tell him no, he can't do that, and he storms off for a bit. And the other Valar are left to create, and they create oceans and mountains, and they're creating this beautiful, beautiful garden. Like I think Garden Eden, but that's probably really small. They're creating this beautiful realm, trying to make it perfect for elves and men to occupy it. When Melkor comes back and decides to destroy everything that they create. If they create an ocean, he dries it up. If they try to create like mountains, he knocks them down. He just keeps, every time they try to do something, he keeps interfering, but he never fully destroys everything. There's still enough left over that eventually a world is created, but it's no longer the perfect idea that they got from that vision. And these are described as the battles before the children of Iluvatar. The children of Iluvatar are the elves and men. So these all happen essentially before the elves were even created. And it gets to the point where the earth, or Arda, is as created as it can be, and then the elves are created, and that's that.
For the firstborn, I would like to say that in this first part, we do actually get 2 other names that you did not mention for the Ainur, and that is
I was simplifying.
yeah. I mean, the next chapter we will go fully over all of them because he goes over all of them. But the 2 sort of like most important, I think of them as like the Poseidon, Hades, Zeus of this, and it's Melkor, which I guess would be Hades in this one, but I don't like using him as Hades because they're not the same in any way, shape, or form. But you have Melkor, then you would have Manwe, who is essentially, he's kind of given the role of leader by Iluvatar. You see that when they're like doing the music before they go into the void. Iluvatar kind of takes Manwe aside and is like, "Hey, you need to lead the group." So he does that. And then the other one we see is Ulmo, who we do actually get his power, and he is very fond of water.
Manwe is air as well.
Is he in this one though?
Didn't you just say Manwe? Didn't you say Manwe first?
Yeah, I said Manwe.
Yeah, so they described what the three named Valar. So you have Manwe for air, Ulmo for water, and Aule for earth and making. Interestingly.
Yeah. And I think that also drives home the whole like Hades, Zeus, Poseidon, because Ulmo would be like Poseidon in the waters, and man way would be Zeus up in the sky, and then you would have Melkor as Hades. I don't like using Hades and him because there's
Is
a lot that
there
goes into that.
Greek god of fire?
Do what?
Is there a Greek god of fire?
There is a goddess of the hearth and home. There is Hephaestus, which is the god of the furnace and like crafting and stuff.
The one of earth.
I don't, but there's not, the reason that there's not like an actual god of fire is because that's Prometheus, the Titan.
Okay.
He's the one that takes fire from the gods and gives it to men. And then he's punished for it.
So then it makes more sense these Prometheus. I'm not super familiar with it, so like I'm just like, okay, don't know who that is.
Yeah, it's this really weird. Melkor is evil, so we'll just flat out say it. He is evil. He does nothing to redeem himself, no matter how many chances he's given. Like, he is just through and through. His whole purpose is to destroy.
Conquer.
Prometheus wasn't that way, but there are a lot of similarities between him and Prometheus. Prometheus created man. Prometheus wanted to give to man. So like we kind of see that in that Melkor wants to create things, but not because he wants to create them and like look at them and admire them and be like, okay, now go do your own thing. He wants to create them to own them. He wants to be master of all. And so like that's the big difference, but there are a lot of similarities there between Prometheus and Melkor.
So that's a very brief,
very simplified.
I tried, that's the point, is like I'm trying to simplify it because the language is complicated. And there's other things that happen, but it's not really important to the general gist of this. This story is just to explain the creation of Arda and essentially the start of evil, which I find interesting because Melkor was created just like all the others, but because his little gift was knowledge, that immediately made him vain and prideful, and those sort of traits drove him to being super evil.
It's actually, we'll see it's not even weird, we'll actually see a dichotomy between him and one of the other Ainur who is actually gifted the same powers as Melkor and is not evil. I don't remember his name, but he has the same gift to create everything. So like they were both given the gift of creation, but he creates things because he takes pride and joy in just creating things, and then like, I created these, so he's gonna go run off.
If it's the one that's creating, that's the third one that I can never remember his name. Aule,
yes. Yeah. They are the same. The difference is
earth and making. So maybe it's because earth is a very grounded sort of thing. He was drawn to earth when he saw it. So maybe that sort of thing grounded him, because the thing with his making is that this is actually in Ainu Lindale. I just didn't go into it, but his making, they specifically say, is he does it for the love of making things, and he will do a project, finish it, and then move to the next one, and continuously move to the next project with no pride, nothing. He just enjoyed making things.
Yes.
As Melkor wanted to own, and if you think of the element fire, it makes sense. It can be very chaotic, uncontrolled. That's what he was drawn to.
I think they might go a little bit more into it in the next part. But I think another thing they talk about is like sort of that Melkor ran out of ideas. So he was unable to create new things, and that was not okay. So then it leads to more of this like power struggle. I need to like take from the others. I need to own everything because I don't have anything of my own anymore. So this is really weird.
Melkor is such an interesting character.
He is, especially like the knowledge that Tolkien just made him evil. Like there was no event that made him this way. Like, which is, we try to think like, oh, what would cause someone to do this? And like, we don't like the answer that sometimes people are just that way. But I think this is a perfect example. Sometimes things are just what they seem to be. He is just this bad guy. No redeeming. So now if you want to take a quick break with me, I got some memes. So we went over like your version of what you see. So the next two are related to your version of how the Ainur and Anilundale plays out. And then the next two are how I actually see it.
Right, because for the viewers, because of how it's written, like you could see with that one sentence, because of how it's written, you can interpret it in different ways. And we both had very different like visuals when it came to, which is one thing I like about it. And this is why you still have Tolkien scholars, because it's up for interpretation.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we need Tolkien back. I will now that ye in harmony together make a great music. And then the Ainur looking very ghostly. And then Melkor. Hard rock. That's a really good one.
The next one is very you as well.
Another one.
I don't know what he's saying because it's in Russian, but it is very much, I believe this is maybe supposed to represent maybe Manwë and Melkor, or just another Ainur. I don't know who the first one is supposed to represent, but that's in my mind.
Yeah, I'm not exactly certain. Maybe the first one is actually Eru Ilúvatar, and he's just like enjoying the harmony, and then you have Melkor off, like all off on his own, and you can see like a little grumpy face on this guy. So like he's probably just like, I'm enjoying it, and then Melkor just starts singing something. He's like,
all right. So before we go into my two, for those, because I didn't do a summary, we let Arai do her summary. So in my mind, I don't see a choir. I see more like a garage band that was put together. I think very much School of Rock with Jack Black is kind of how I envision all of it happening. And then like them being sent to Arda to like make the world is like, cool, you guys know how to make awesome music. Now go and make some actual music so you can sell some albums and, you know, go on tour and stuff. So if you want to go to the, the next one. So it's a band of skeletons with all of the Ainur jamming, and then it's Melkor going doot doot on his little trumpet, and Ilúvatar's is like, why?
oh, this is good.
And then the next one is from Shrek, Shrek 2, and it's all of the Ainur doing the little trumpet thing, and Melkor at the very end, and it's Eru or Ilúvatar walking down, and then Melkor does a solo, and he's like, enough, stop.
I totally forgot about this scene. It's
great. It's great. So then the next two I have are related to just Melkor.
So I'm a huge cat lover. I have one sleeping right here, so this gets me. Can I read it? Okay. Eru creates Melkor. Melkor. Father, I crave violence.
It's just this little kitten stuck up in the stairs.
So cute.
Yes. The other one is also a cat.
Do you want me to hear you?
Go for it. You can go for it.
Eru allows the Ainur to enter Ea. 10 seconds later, Melkor, I see no god up here other than me. Oh my gosh, this whole thing could be described in cat memes. I don't know why we didn't put that together.
It can. It's totally. I believe on the Prancing Pony podcast, they refer to Melkor as a cosmic toddler. So he throws toddler tantrums, and he's just this giant cosmic toddler.
I'm gonna forever think of it as a meme cat because, like, I think there's a cat meme for everything Melkor does.
Probably.
And that's my goal now.
It's just the cat knocking shit off. And every time. It's literally, Melkor is a cat. He is a cat.
Melkor's a cat.
So the last one that I have is not really a meme, and we'll save that one for the end because it's actually some kind of fan art to represent kind of, I believe these are the Valar. And it's just because I like to have a face with a name, even if it's like a hand drawing one here, because like I said, like we've said, the names get kind of outrageous.
Sexy.
But there was something, hold on, I gotta pull up my notes, that I wanted to talk about. And that was, so you'll see it's in the book, and you'll see a lot of people talk about the themes for the Ainulindale. And it's because Tolkien specifically talks about the first theme, the second theme, and the third theme in the music. And it's one of those that, like, it kind of takes several read-throughs to fully, in my opinion, like, understand kind of what's going on. I'm not going to go super deep into them. I just kind of wanted to point out that, in my opinion, there's actually 4 themes, even though they don't refer to the last one as the 4th theme. So you have the first theme, which is Iluvatar creating the Ainur and then them playing the music. The second theme is when we see I call it the seeds of discord being sown by Melkor. So that's him going against all of that. The third theme is Iluvatar stepping forward and placing Manwë at the head to override Melkor. And then the 4th theme, in my opinion, would be Melkor's rebellion. So it's him, once again going against it, which leads to them going to Ea and then the creation of elves and men. So there is some debate over what the themes are. That's like a very watered down thing, but he makes a point of pointing out these themes. So I just wanted to like say, like these are the basics of the themes.
I think to simplify, because I feel like the word theme can be confusing.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah. And I think you can replace the word theme with melody. Because it's not like theme like in a book. I mean, it kind of is, but like when it specifically says he gives the Ainur a theme and they sing it. And that's a simple way of saying is he gave them a melody, he gave them the song, and that's what they sing. And then so when I read it, I just kept replacing that word in my head because otherwise I'd get lost in literary themes versus what he's trying to convey.
Yeah, it is.
At the same time, the songs are the literary theme of that section. So it's like,
yeah, and I don't think we've actually explained this. The reason that we use musical metaphors and talk about like a choir and a garage band is because Tolkien literally wrote it as a giant musical metaphor. So like he is actively talking
the music of the Ainur.
Yeah, he talks about them singing and playing music, like legit. Like I just realized that we never actually said that that's why we talk about it that way, because that's like, if you've never read it and don't like, you just want to listen to this, that's why it is that way.
I honestly think that it's a very beautiful chapter, and if you can get through the more difficult language, it's worth reading. It's relatively short, and if you just imagine it in song, like he creates these beings that are singing and they eventually sing into existence creation, and it's just a very beautiful way to think about it. And I think like all of our examples have been like the ones that you and I came up with to explain it, like choir of angels and what's that? It's not Rock Band. Gosh, I know that movie. I just watched it like 3 months ago.
Oh, School of Rock.
School of Rock, and then we used Pitch Perfect. You and I, we've both been in choir, so I think that like we're always thinking about our experiences in choir
or band. You always have that, like the band. The skeleton band. Like I think anyone who's been in that knows exactly what it's like to have that one person that just totally off.
The drummers. But yeah, so we use those examples because it makes sense for the context and off of our own experience. But I think that my summary was a little rough. I know it was off my memory. I wanted to keep it simple because I have this really bad tendency with Tolkien to go as in-depth as Tolkien goes. And I can talk forever. So I'm like, I want to keep this brief for people who
did a good job with that. Yeah, it's short. You, like I said, you covered all of it. It is short. That is literally the entirety of the chapter. It's just like a couple of places he was like a little bit more in depth, or he points out specific things, and like I said, like the themes it's like theme with a capital T, like.
Yeah, there was something else in here that like he capitalized certain words.
Void. I know he capitalizes. Yes, I know he capitalizes void in one place and not in another. So like when he's talking about the void, the place, rather than like a void, he capitalizes it. It was like in the same sentence, he uses the word void twice, and one is capitalized, the other one is not. And it's like,
and you can, and this is why Tolkien can be taken in so many different ways, because you can read into that capitalization. It was obviously there for a reason.
Yeah.
But like for the purposes of this channel, we'll keep it simple.
As simple as possible.
Hopefully entertaining. You'll get 2 viewpoints, which I think is fabulous, that we both have completely different interpretations of the work. And every once in a while, I'll show pretty pictures from my book.
Oh, is that from the end of the story, the chapter?
So this is Arda. So after they descended and started to create water and mountains. Nice. So this is the very beginning of creation. Before Melkor goes in and screws it up.
All right. Was there anything else in this chapter you wanted to discuss?
Not really. So I think that, and I've said it before, but I feel like the main thing that I took away from this was that evil just existed. Like,
he makes it a point of showing that.
Yeah, and that's what's surprising to me, because like in Christianity, evil didn't exist. One angel became prideful, right? And he fell because he tried to do a January 6th coup. And like that's what I expected going into this, because it's been a while since I've read. I expected that going into it, but I didn't remember the details. And then when that's not what happened, he just was bad. He was a bad note from the beginning.
Yeah.
and it was just surprising. But Melkor is essentially one of the threads that follows the rest of the mythology all the way through to the end. So if you walk away with nothing out of this, just remember Melkor. Melkor is evil. Remember that name.
Yeah, he is always there. Like, can't escape Melkor. So if we have nothing else, then the very last image that I have is, again, it's just portraits of the Valar. So
all credit to the artist.
Yeah. So again, for me, this just helps me have like a visual face and like maybe some little like hints to what they are. So like you can see Melkor with the dark crown. He's shaded that way. Manwë,
reminiscent of the movies, like the type of sign that you see in Mordor.
Right? Yeah, and then you have Manwë, who's opposite him, obviously being the opposite, not the opposite in power, but he is, the leader. He is the good against Melkor's evil. And you have Ulmo with the little water coming around. Alue with kind of like the gear, the earth looking. Who is that? Yavanna, which we haven't met her yet. With like the little plant.
She wasn't named, no, but
yeah, we'll see her definitely in the next one. You have Mondos. I don't remember what he does. I'm drawing a blank. And then you have Vonda, who creates like the stars, which is why it's like this sort of black, inky night sky looking thing. So these are like ones that we'll see pop up over and over and over again and play kind of like big roles. There are a couple others that pop up throughout it. But again, this was just, I like a visual representation.
This actually reminds me of another section in Our New Land of Light that I really enjoyed. So they talk about their appearance, the Valar, in this chapter. They don't really go into details, but they essentially say that they're able to take form that man and elves can see, and they reflect kind of what they saw the elves look like. So I imagine just super glowy elves. But Melkor sees this and also decides to take on a form, and his form winds up being dark and terrifying. Those are the two words used to describe him, which just further reflects his, I was gonna say inner evil, but he's like outwardly evil too. So
he doesn't
I found that interesting, and I'm sure we go into more in that in the next chapter. But
you do, and also like put a little pin in the knowledge that the Ainur can take on the form of humans and elves, because we actually get to see that come full circle in Lord of the Rings.
we do. And you know what's exciting? We'll get to talk about the Eagles.
We will. Yes.
So,
hot debate topic among people who have read the books and who haven't read the books.
I will throw melons at people who try to tell me that the Eagles could have ended the whole thing. I will go to the store, buy a cantaloupe, and throw it at someone.
Yeah, that'll be a fun day. We might have to do like a whole thing on that one.
Maybe we do a side. That'll be an offshoot, because like we'll tell what happens and like explain, and that'll be an offshoot. Maybe a whole video of why the Eagles can't just drop Frodo in the volcano. Or why they could.
I think the belief was that they could have just picked up the ring and taken it and just dropped the ring in.
I'm sorry, I was describing a meme that I saw where it literally shows them picking Frodo up and then dropping him into the lava in the volcano.
Wow. Things escalated quickly there. So yeah, thank you for joining us today as we kind of discussed the Annalundale, the first part of the Simarillion. Next week, we're going to jump into the next part, which is the Valaquinta, or the account of the Valar. So this is where we're going to see more of the Valar, their powers, how they interact with each other, and sort of what they are cooking up, if you will.
I think I'm going to have to start creating graphics for this. I wish I had a marker board behind me to just be like, drawing, like writing all the names out.
Full board.
Because
yeah, it'll be a lot of names, but we'll tell you who you need to really remember and who it's just kind of like yeah, I kind of recognize the name, but it's whatever. It's like when you're trying to remember all the names in The Hobbit and you realize that some of the dwarves don't really play much of a role, so they're easy to forget. Yeah. I had that discussion with my mom. She's like, oh, there's only 9, right? And I was like, no, there's 13. Like, wait, who? And I was like, you got to do them in rhyming couplet. Like, you got to rhyme them all. That's how this works. And she was like, who's Biffer, Boffer, and Bomber? And I was like, okay, remember the movie. This is these 3. And she was just kind of like, well, who's Ori, Nori, and Dory? Just like, Mom.
Honestly,
they're the 3 that no one knows because they don't really have a part.
Honestly, the ones I remember most are Feely and Keely, and that's strictly because of the movie.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to tell her. I was like, think of the movie, and then I'm like, well, crap, all the other ones are like really memorable except for those 3. I was like, God, man, this is gonna be hard. And then finally she was like, oh, okay, I guess that is 13. And I was like, yeah, it's 9 in the Fellowship, 13 in this, and then I think there's 15 Ainur. And then there's like 20, children of Fëanor,
I don't know.
Fucking I don't remember.
We'll get there. We'll answer these questions.
We'll see if I'm right. I think there might be 15. He likes his prime numbers. He does.
He does. I quote too much. Anyway, join us next week.
We're gonna hop into the Valaquinta, which is longer. So we might. Is it longer? Oh no, wait, JK, it's also pretty short.
I remember this one being particularly difficult.
This is where all of the names come into play, which is the problem.
I think I wound up skipping ahead whenever I was reading this the first time, because I think I make it partway through of the Valar, and then it's just like, okay.
Yeah, the whole point of the Valaquinta is to tell you who everyone is. That is the only purpose that it serves. So we're gonna make it nice and simple for you.
It is literally broken down into categories. But anyway, we'll get into that next week.
Ooh, I'm excited.
The Bella Quinta.
So yeah, so join us next week as we descend into the Valar and the Maiar.
Maiar's Gandalf, by the way. He's one of them. So yeah.
Bye.
Bye.